Hello, everybody. As our parsha tells us about Nig'ei Batim, the plague of Tsarat as it affects one's home, we are introduced with the pasuk, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe v'yal Aharon lemor, Ki tavo al eretz Kenan v'natati nega tsarat beveit eretz achuzatchem. Hashem speaks to Moshe and Aaron and says, when you come to Eretz Canaan and I place a plague of tzarat in your homes. And the obvious question is, God is speaking to whom? To Moshe and Aaron. And he says, as he addresses them, Ki tavo al Eretz Canaan, when you come to the land of Canaan. Now, obviously, we can understand this, that it goes without saying that this is simply an instruction that God is relating to Moshe and Aaron for purposes that they teach Bnei Yisrael. So God is not saying, Ki, you, Moshe and Aaron, kasher tavo el Eretz Canaan. They're not coming to Eretz Canaan. We know that. But they are to relate to Bnei Yisrael when they get to Eretz Canaan. Still, the question could be asked about the impreciseness of the Lashon. Unless you ask, wait a minute, at this point the Torah has not yet recorded outright that Moshe and Aaron are not going to enter Eretz Yisrael. That comes only later in Parshat Chukat. But the truth is, we know from several sources that Moshe was aware of the fact that he was not going to enter Eretz Canaan, going all the way back to the incident at the Sneh, when God first interacts with Moshe Rabbeinu. When Moshe says, Shlachna biyad asher tishlach, so there are a number of interpretations. What does Moshe mean when he says, oh, well, send somebody else? So one of the interpretations of this, of course, is that you should send Shlachna biyad asher tishlach because I know that I am not going to be zocha to enter Eretz Yisrael. So send somebody else. So brings Rashi back there in Parshat Shemot. Or furthermore, when Hashem says at the end of Parshat Shemot to Moshe Rabbeinu, Atat tir'eh asher e'eseh leFaro. Now you're going to see what I'm going to do to Paro. So the Medrash says, what I'm going to do to Paro, I'm going to share with you. That you're going to see. But, says the Medrash, the battles that will take place between Bnei Yisrael and the 31 Canaanite kings, that's something for Yehoshua to deal with. You are not going to witness that. Another indication that Moshe is not going to enter Eretz Yisrael. And in the Shirat Hayam, in Parshat B'Shalach, Tevi'emo Bahar Nachal V'tita'emo, Bahar Nachalatcha, you will bring us and plant us in the Nachala, in the mountain of the Nachala, meaning in Eretz Yisrael. It says Tevi'emo, and not in the first person plural, Tevi'enu v'sita'enu. And the Medrash says, Hu yodea shelo yikanes la'aretz. Moshe was aware he wasn't going to enter. So even though we haven't yet gotten to Parshat Chukat, how does God address a Moshe who knows he's not going to enter Eretz Yisrael with the tantalizing words, Ki tavo el Eretz Canaan? So the Torah Tamima of Baruch Halevi Epstein in his Sefer, Tosefet Bracha, has a very interesting answer, in which he points out that we're not talking here in literal and practical terms. In fact, in our sugya of Nig'ei Tzarat Batim, the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, Daf Lamed Aleph, brings an opinion that Beit HaMenuga B'Tzarat lo haya v'lo atid liot. There never was, and there never will be, an incident where Tzarat afflicted a Jewish person's home, similar to the statement in the Gemara that a ben sorer umoreh, the wayward child, never was and never will be. If so, it's totally useless from a practical point of view, for the Torah to include the dinim of nig'ei batim. So the Gemara wonders, so lama nichtav? So why bother to include it in the Torah? A Torah where we're makpid on every kutso shel yud, every letter, every word, that it not be extraneous. And the Gemara gives a somewhat laconic answer, derosh v'kabel schar. It's for academic purposes, for the learning. You should darshan these psukim, understand these psukim, and get reward for your Talmud Torah. Really, what's the point? Why not give us sachar for Talmud Torah on things that are practical? Lahavinu, lahaskil, lishmoa, lumod, lulamed, lishmar v'lasot. That's the tachlis of our Torah study. But there's a secondary reason for Torah study. And the truth is, every single thing in the Torah is in order to enable us to better understand atzmuto shel Hashem Yitbarach, the very essence of who HaKadosh Baruch Hu, our Creator, is. That's our tachlis in life, to understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lahavdil elef alfei avdalot. The more you read of novels and other writings of a particular author, the better you come to understand him. Or the same thing with studying musical compositions or artistic works of an artist. The more you see of their work, the better you understand them. Well, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrote the greatest, if you will, novel of all times, the Torah, and the greatest painting of all times, the world in which we live. The more we understand everything that he chose to include in Torah, whether it is practical or it isn't, it gives us a glimpse and an insight into the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whom we are supposed to imitate. B'chol derachecha da'ehu, mahu rachaman, afata rachaman, etc. We're supposed to imitate the ways of Hashem. So the better we understand him, the better we can get to it. So Nigei Batim is totally not for practical purposes, and stating Ki tavo el Beit Eretz Achuzatchem is not relevant to Moshe. It's actually not relevant to any Jew. The whole parsha is Derosh v'kabel schar, so that in Yirtzeh Hashem we can fulfill in reality what the Torah describes, V'atem hadevekim b'Hashem Elokeichem chayim kulchem hayom. That is our vitality. That is our chiyut. That is what we try to achieve in the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us on this earth. As we are approaching this year in a Shnat Ibur, in a Jewish leap year, Shabbat HaGadol, and following it Chag HaGeula, Zman Cherutenu, this is the ultimate time to be mitkarev el Hashem, to study Hashem, and to emulate him. Shabbat Shalom, v'Chag Kasher v'Sameach.